How's everybody doing? Everybody all right?
Good.
I'm not quite sure who the person is that Cheryl just described, but I'll do my best, right? I'm Brian Kilcourse. I'm a managing partner at RSR Research, and for your information, I'm also a recovering retailer. I've got a 12-point program to help me through that. And if you'd like to talk more about your future post-retail, I'll be happy to go through it with you. But today we're going to talk about managing through unmanageable times and how to drive margin and profit. Of course, that's why we're all here, right? So many of you are already believers. Some of you are just checking out, kicking the tires and doing those kinds of things, and I hope you get the value that you're looking for. Here's our agenda for today. I'm going to talk about RSR, not very much, just a little, and then we're going to fly very high. We're going to talk about the state of retail and what's going on, and then we're going to ask a very specific question. Is pricing working for retailers? You can answer your own question, but I'll give you some data from some of our research. And then we'll talk about pricing in an omni-channel environment. What does that mean? And some final thoughts, a few take-homes for you to take back to your shop and think about. So, first of all, RSR. RSR just completed our 9th year. That's us. That's the whole company. You're looking right at them. It doesn't get bigger than that. What we do is we study the business drivers that compel retailers toward technology solutions. We do not study the technologies themselves. I'm a firm believer from my days as an executive that the market is the best judge of who has the best technology, number one. Number two, there are other firms that do competitive intelligence on technology quite well. You didn't need another voice. So what we do instead is we don't talk we don't talk theoretical best cases or best practices. One of my favorite things to do to a vendor is when they came in and said, it's a best practice. And I would say, can you tell me anybody who's implemented it? And that's when, of course, it breaks down. Retailers are, above all other things, they're very, very practical people. So we talk about the business challenges and the opportunities the retailers are dealing with and how they deal with them with information and technology. So our research is free to everybody. I'll encourage you at the end to get onto our website. All you have to do is identify your name, and down you go, and pass it around to your friends, and we love your feedback. So we're going to talk about retail at a very high level. This talk is not germane to food and drug or general merchants. It's all retail. Let's talk about what's going on in the industry today, because it's important for us to understand that we are at a fundamental moment in the history of our business. We say that we are at a reset moment, a real interesting time in our history where something has changed in a way that causes consumers to behave in new ways. Something has been introduced that causes people and societies to maneuver in a fundamentally different way. And of course, you all know what that is. It's what we call omni-channel. Omni-channel. We'll talk more about what that means. But the first thing you need to get out of your head is that consumers see channels. They do not see channels. They see solutions. You solve their lifestyle problem or you don't. And we'll talk about what that means to you. This has happened before, and this is kind of fun. My wife is a history teacher, so she helped me with this years ago. But let's go way back. I'm talking about something that was introduced into society that changed behavior of those societies. So we all know this from our history books. We moved from the Agrarian age to the Industrial age to the Information age, and finally, in the age we're in today. Some people call that the Participation age. Some call it the Consensus age. Some call it other things, but right now we're in an age when people want to participate in the society and in the economy. So let's have a little fun here. What one technology caused our society in the United States to go from the Agrarian age to the Industrial age? Any guesses? A lot of people say the steam engine, right? I'm going to propose to you that although that was interesting, it didn't cause a fundamental change. Here's what caused the fundamental change. That's a light bulb. And it happened really, really fast. In around 1901, the light bulb was finally commercially viable. And what people did with it, what companies did with it, is they started lighting the factories 24/7. And that one event caused a huge population shift from the farms to the cities so that people could work the factories. And of course, a bunch of stuff happened after that. There was terrible labor strife. There were people being shot in the streets because they were arguing for better working conditions and those kinds of things. And that's what brought us up to things like OSHA. We all recognize those things. a 2-day weekend, an 8-hour workday. All of those things are a result of the light bulb. It's really interesting when you think about it. Now let's have some fun. We went from the industrial age to the information age. Any guesses as to what caused that? Don't be shy. The computer. Yeah, some people say it happened in the mid-50s because of the ENIAC and then the IBM 360 and those kinds of things. But I'm going to suggest that it happened much later than that. And actually, you can tie it to a single letter by Walmart to its vendors. Now, Walmart is good at collaboration. And you are our valued partner, and if you will do the following things or you will fall off the face of the earth. They sent a letter to their vendors in 1986, and they said that by the end of 1986, you will be 100% scannable. And here's what happened. All of us at that point joined the information age, because we could now send a signal that was a proxy for demand for what we needed in our lives. And Walmart's letter did it. Now, we all know, because of, remember, George H. Bush down at that grocery store in Florida, that it was actually, I think, an NCR machine that started scanning in 1971 or 2. But it was that letter which caused the vendors to comply with the Walmart dictate, and which caused all of us now to start sending signals to the retailers and the manufacturers as to what we wanted, when we wanted it, and we could even infer why we wanted it. So what happened then? What happened? That was the pivot point for when companies such as the one that I was in started optimizing their supply chain. That was when they started it. And why did we do it? Because we knew Walmart was coming to town, and we needed to do something about it. We were all participants. Now we're moving from the information age to the participation age. This is easy. When did that happen? What caused it to happen? What technology? The smartphone, absolutely. It was, let's see if it comes up. Push it again. There it is. The iPhone 1. How many of you have a BlackBerry? Any BlackBerries left? How many of you have a Samsung Galaxy 7? I was going to say, how are you getting home? It was the iPhone 1. It was the iPhone 1. Now that's interesting because that was introduced in 2007, and what Apple got right was they got the user interface right. They just nailed it. And the interesting thing about that is we all had a warning that they could nail it, because before that we had the iPod. The iPod was fascinating because it was an MP3 music player, and Mark, you probably know this, it's not the very best conversion from digital analog, is it? Not the best sounding thing. Guess what? Consumers don't care. They don't care at all. But what's interesting about the iPod is that the interface worked in any culture, in any country. It worked around the entire globe. Apple just nailed it. And then they did the same thing with the phone. They intuited something about our lives and our needs that hadn't been intuited before. But it was 2009 with the Android launch that we really took over. We really took over our lives with mobile phones. In 2010, in the US, penetration of smart mobile went from 20% of the total mobile phone market to over 60% in 1 year. And what did we as consumers do? We took control of our lives. We took control of our lives in ways that we hadn't. Now here's the test. How many of you go to a store, a Target, some store like that, and you get, while you're standing in the aisle, you are checking reviews from Amazon? How many of you do that? Don't be shy. I do this all the time. All the time. Now I try really hard because I'm a retailer. I told you I'm a recovering retailer. I don't want to support that company because I don't want you to go away. But I read Amazon's reviews all the time, even if I'm standing in the aisle in Target. And we all do that. So that's what's happened. So this is a new behavior, and I don't want to underline it too much, but I want to tell you that for the very first time in the history of our species, and that's a long time, depending on which book you adhere to, but it's a long, long time. In the first time in the history of our species, we begin the shopping experience outside of the four walls of the store. We begin our investigative processes and our selection processes and sometimes our payment processes outside of the store, even if we fully intend to go to the store to pick it up. That's a net new behavior. That's something we never did before. And so you'll see us say things like, today, for the first time in history, the consumer carries around the store in their pockets and their purses. And it's true. So we all do this. So we have to make money in certain ways. Of course, we can buy it better, we can run better, or we can sell more. But consumers are using the power of information to find the best solution at the best price, at the most desirable availability. Do we all agree? Do you all do that? Price transparency is real. If you didn't believe that, you wouldn't be here. Consumer omni-channel behaviors have exposed weaknesses in our operations. For example, how many of you have an e-commerce department that does their own assortment planning, that does their own buying, that has their own technology stack? That's how we all did it. That's how I did it. We didn't think at the time that consumers were going to use the channels all together, working them together to solve a single problem. So we didn't care. Of course, when you're 1 or 2 or 3% of the total business, why care? But when you're getting up to 12 and 13 and 15, and even up to 20% of your business, you need to care a lot. And so what the consumer has done, they've done us a favor, and this is where many of us are right now, is they have exposed weaknesses in our operations. And finally, omni-channel fulfillment, the endless aisle, the long tail of products, it's challenging our mass merchandising-oriented supply chain in ways that we could not have imagined. And as interesting as the sell-side activities that we've been engaged in since 2010 are, I'll submit to you that the challenges that we face on the supply chain are an order of magnitude greater. And why is that? Because we've optimized our supply chain, we've standardized our assortments. We assumed that consumers would buy what we had to sell. It is no longer about what we want to sell, it's about what they want to buy. And they challenge us every day. So this is an old book. How many of you remember the book, The Discipline of Market Leaders, Wiersum and Tracy? 1997. Seems like ancient history. I suggest you reread it. These two authors said that you have to be good at 3 disciplines, but you have to be great at 1. And they were product leadership, operational excellence, and customer intimacy. I spent my entire career on this side, and so did most of you. Most of you spent your time over there because that's where the business was. We were building margin with the notion that consumers would buy, number 1, what we had to sell, and number 2, we wanted to optimize the cost, the unit cost for all of our products so we could offer a lower price to compete with Walmart, keep a little bit for the shareholders, and then always, always, always drive down operational costs. But now the consumer is over here, and look at that word under markets of 1. It's all about relevance. It's no longer about what you want to sell, it's what they want to buy. Now, you've heard a lot about markets of 1 and those kinds of things, and there's a real question as to if we're really going truly to one-to-one marketing. And I'll talk to you about that in just a second. But this is the battlefront where we are right now. So, how many of you remember Maslow's hierarchy of needs? Psych 10A in college, right? Yes, I'm going to give you your units for this right now. Basically, Maslow, the psychologist, said we have several basic needs. And the first one, that's a little bit out of line, so I'm going to have to line this up for you, is sustainment. The second one is security. The third one is belonging. The fourth one is esteem, and the last one, which somehow went on line 2, is wisdom. So way over on the right should be wisdom. Now, when you're selling food, what are you doing? Audience participation. What are you doing? What are you selling? What's your value? People have to eat, right? Sustainment. What does Whole Foods sell? They sell food, right? So it's about sustainment? It isn't. Trader Joe's is an even better example. Craig talked about Trader Joe's. I love Trader Joe's. I wish they had one in my town. What are they selling? They are selling belonging. You belong to a tribe of people that's fun, eats well, loves to do exploration in the store. You are part of the Trader Joe's tribe. Here's my favorite is Cabela's. How many of you are Cabela's shoppers? If you haven't been to a Cabela's, go there. It's just fascinating. Whole families walk into Cabela's with camo on. It's amazing. Go back to Maslow's hierarchy. For those of you who are customers, map yourself. Don't show your boss. But keep it in mind, if you're selling to a retailer, map them out. Now, how do you know? I suggest all you sales folks and work in the technology companies, go shopping. Just go shopping. And then map out where a retailer lives in that value proposition. Don't use price to improve sell-through. Buy less. Okay? Availability of inventory is a driver of demand. Use forecasting tools and reforecast frequency. This is where big data comes in. We have the ability to reforecast over and over again in season. We should be doing it. Make any changes to price strategy gradually. Remember, consumers are watching your every move when it comes to price. They are watching you. They're incredibly sensitive to it. And finally, of course, stay the course. Don't change your story once you've established it. Remember, if you believe in your strategy, stick with it. Stick with it. Don't back down. There will always be disruptors. There will always be companies that come in from left field. You never saw them coming, and you need to be able to respond to those when they do come in, but don't cause them to knock you off your perch. Follow the customer. And now, finally, I just want to say thank you. This was a lot of information really fast. You can get onto our website at www.rsr, or excuse me, I don't even know my own website, rsrresearch.com. I write this stuff. And it's free to you, and I'd love to hear your feedback. So hopefully this was interesting for you. Go out and conquer new worlds, all right? The customer wants to shop from you. Bye-bye.